Welcome to the International Franchise Association's Women's Franchise Committee podcast, Her Success, the Stories of Female Franchise Leaders. My name is Marissa Fonce. I'm with the law firm of Slave Cook, and today I have the honor of sitting down with Rosemarie Hartnett, who is the co-founder and president of Abracadoodle, which is a multi-arts program for children. Rosemarie oversees Abracadoodle's operations, franchise support, sales, growth initiatives, and training services worldwide. She was honored by the International Franchise Association as the recipient of the Crystal Compass Award for her leadership and vision. Rosemarie is a past chair of the IFIA Board of Governors and is a well-known advocate and speaker on several topics, including franchising, leadership, and the role of women in business. She is the co-chair of the Women's Franchise Network in the Washington, D.C. area. Rosemarie, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Marissa. I'm quite honored.
Well, we're thrilled to learn a little bit about your career and your history in franchising. Can you give us a little bit of background on how you got started in franchising?
Sure. I came from New York with a very young family. My children were preschool all the way up through elementary school, and I moved to the Washington, D.C. area. And at that time, I started working for a small franchise company that brought technology education to children. And I found, I think, two spaces that really resonated with me. One was children's education space, really touched, really became a kind of a passion for me. And franchising really got into my blood and really made a lot of sense to me. Franchising is about systems. Success is very measurable in a number of ways. And I'm a very result-oriented person. So I think there was a combination there that really started me in a place that I felt like I found my calling, if you will.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about how you got started with Abracadoodle.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that was back in 2002. And I started Abracadoodle with a wonderful business partner, Mary Rogers. And Mary is somebody that I met when I moved here down into the Washington, D.C. area. We worked together for many years. And we found we really made a very good working professional team, in addition to being very good friends. And at that point, about 2002, we were looking in the education space, education for children space, we were looking for where that next really important opportunity would be in children's education and being able to deliver it through a franchise model. And that's when we set on the idea of arts education. With all of the cuts in the arts that certainly over the years have gotten no better, they've gotten worse. We saw a huge opportunity to apply what we'd learned as being a good team in this space, what we knew about the franchise model, to bring really quality arts education programs to children, and again through that franchise model. And that was the birth of Abracadoodle back in 2002.
Mm-hmm. And so you've been obviously with Abracadoodle for a number of years now. Tell us about the growth trajectory of the company and what impact franchising has had on your success.
Yeah, it's, as I say, franchising is just something that makes so much sense to me. We gained a great deal of experience, certainly in domestic here in the U.S., and also over the years, bringing a concept overseas, so the international model. So Abracadoodle started in Northern Virginia. That's where the first programs were taught, where really the number of our first franchises came on in the U.S. We spread across the U.S., and we started to develop in about 2008. We'd reached a place in our business plan where we were ready, having built what we felt was a strong base here at home, to bring our program internationally. And that led to what is still today a wonderful master franchise in China, in Singapore. We have franchise also in Mexico, and one of our newest ones is in Australia. So this really a very passionate mission for franchising, but also for arts education for children is got a wonderful journey here in the U.S., but certainly expanding overseas. And we continue to do that.
How many franchisees do you have now in your system?
We have, it's interesting, we have about 50 here in the US. We have over 200 overseas. So part of that growth has been that international piece in China, where we are co-branded with another brand, My Gym, which is another American franchisor. So Abracadoodle brings its art classes along with the My Gym program. And then there are about 50, we call them Abracadoodle standalones in the China market that offer just the Abracadoodle programs. And then of course our programs in Singapore, as well as in Mexico and Australia as well.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about just getting the business off the ground. I think a lot of people have ideas for business and ideas for growth, and maybe they've got one or two locations, but they're not quite sure how to get to the next level. How did that go for you?
Well, I think we had an advantage in the sense that Mary and I, by the time we started Abracadoodle, we were very experienced in franchising. And over the years, it's really been so interesting to see the different kinds of concepts that have surfaced. And I've been approached by some just wonderful people that are looking to become franchisors. And the question is always, how do you do that? And for us, we had a little bit of a leg up, but it is a daunting task. There are, I think at first look, stars in eyes is what I generally see. And people like myself, really from my beginnings, I just got the model. I got franchising and I got very excited about it. But you really, of course, with anything that you're going to encourage others to come along with me, and your franchise owners, of course, become your brand ambassadors, and they are the distributors of your program, whether it's here in the US or overseas. You need to start developing a very strong model. And that's what we set about doing here in Northern Virginia. And I did run the first Abracadoodle model myself, so I had a very hands-on perspective in what it takes to run this kind of a business, and particularly our kind of a concept. And we really spent a great deal of time, effort, and resources. It is not an inexpensive thing to start a franchise. And so, step one is, of course, building a very strong, proven model that you can then invite others to come and help you share that concept.
And I think the other key to success for you is in the longevity of the system was being able to evolve your business over time. Tell us about some of the evolutions that you guys made in the business model.
Sure. I think for us in our space, we really set our programming at what we thought was and know is the highest bar, and that is that our curriculum exceeds the national standards for visual arts education. But what we built out in the model was something that we certainly wanted our concept to be sustainable, that it have really multiple revenue streams for our franchise owners over time, particularly in the education space for children. We didn't want our program to just be all after school or just be all one anything. So we did build out a program that does provide solid multiple revenue streams for our franchise owners, whether we are in schools as the art program or as enrichment classes or as camps. So the idea and what sustained us over time and really helped our owners to build scalable businesses, but to take us into the future was that we had programs that once a franchise owner put a footprint down in a franchise territory, they were positioned to be that program that you went to for everything that was arts related, creativity related, and also truly a franchisor's responsibility and obligation to its franchise system is to stay very current, to stay, if best you can, very aware, ahead of the trends, alongside of the trends, and to continue to bring new programs that will be of benefit for us. It's in the education space. So I think that's something we've put our hearts into and resources into. Be very aware of the trends, be very future focused, to take the model and keep it fresh in front of your customers.
Mm-hmm. In your journey, I know that you're actively involved in the IFA. And did you use resources from the IFA or mentorship relationships when you were starting your business as you were continuing to evolve? Tell us about that.
Oh my goodness, what an important question. I consider myself one of those people that grew up in franchising and also grew up in the IFA. And I really credit a great deal of my success today because of the IFA. I stepped in, very early on in my franchising career and really took advantage of the educational programs. I really took advantage of cultivating opportunities to build very good networks of people around me. And no one does anything alone. Our success is built on the helping hands and mentorship of people around us, whether it's your personal network. I will tell you, I have a very understanding family. No one does anything without the support of that family and the tireless hours and trips to the IFA conventions, to the IFA seminars, and always a family that were wonderful advocates for me and encouraged me. But within the IFA, really wonderful groups like the Women's Franchise Committee. My goodness, I've been involved with the Women's Franchise Committee for more years than really I want to count. Mm-hmm. But within that organization, really I had a wonderful opportunity. This was in the Dina Dwyer Owens days, and wonderful mentors like Dina, Melanie Bergeron, wonderful people like even Lori Rennick and Dick Rennick, you'll remember them, that were very involved, not only in the WFC, but in cultivating a culture where we could call upon one another. And that was something that was, I think, significant for me in my journey. And I think as a leader in every organization, you really want to always be learning from wonderful people, like the people at the IFA that I met with them, but always reaching out for different perspectives on things. And that's really what organizations like IFA has offered to us all.
Mm-hmm. And I know that now we're obviously, this is 2020 and we're in the July of 2020 when we're recording this podcast. And we're in the midst of a global pandemic that's really brought the world to a stop in March. How did the coronavirus pandemic impact your business? And tell us about your continuing journey to work through the crisis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, for us, for our concept, working with schools and educational host sites, clearly, this had some significant impact on us. And you go from, that initial alarm and shock to to being very quickly being able to respond to it. And one of the first things that we did, and we have a very strong culture of trust and sharing of information with our franchise owners. So really coming out, of course, immediately and just recognizing what was happening and helping owners just deal with just as, again, it's sort of the shock of it, but quickly moving into what are we going to do about it. And one of the benefits that we have as an educational program is to be able to take our programs online. And that was something that has proved really very, very valuable to our franchise owners. We were able fairly quickly to build some protocols, platform, training programs for our owners, and then quickly be responsive to our educational sites because our customers were reeling in the same way that we were reeling as well. How are we going to continue to bring those educational programs to children? So in a sense, we're really very fortunate. There are other brands perhaps that were not able to go that online route, and we were able to do that. So we do have Abracadabra classes and camps and special events that are happening right online. And in terms of, I guess, being future focused, we're working right now with schools across the country as they try to figure this all out and find a solution. We are really very ready and able to be that solution. So we've been able to move a lot of our partnerships with our schools and our sites online and really help them do that. Because of course we're focusing on that, that one area of art. Our educational institutions have a huge task in front of them in terms of programming. And all of course, the incoming that's pressing them to make decisions with a lot of unknowns still. But we can be that one solution for this one piece of the educational question. So for us, as we move into the future, online learning will be another revenue stream for our owners. And we all hope, that we can get back into the classrooms face-to-face, but I think we have to be realistic that for this period in time, this is where we are, but we do have a solution. And I think we will be better prepared, Marissa, should we have blips that set us back a step in terms of COVID-19. We are, of course, now much better prepared to be responsive and to support the educational community and our franchise owners with the programming that they'll need.
How did your franchisees react? I mean, obviously you had to adjust to leadership crisis, and you and your team had to pivot and create these programs. But did you spend time counseling them and assuaging their fears, or how did you do that within the culture of your organization?
Yeah, we are big communicators and webinar hosts in a pre-pandemic day. If I could say anything that is just, one of those just really important points, really over communicate. And we got in front of our owners. We are in front of our owners weekly. We have a culture that we do a lot of this sharing, a lot of this ongoing training. So this wasn't unusual for our owners, but what was very clear and what continues to be clear, that kind of communication, very much like what you and I are doing right now. We are face-to-face in this way. That became very clear to me that was going to be really important. And we have almost 100% participation. We do weekly webinars with our owners. Again, it's future focused on programming that's working now with initiatives for the future. But it's more than that. It's making that connection as best we can face to face. And we are, I mean, you hear this, we are all in this together, but when your Zoom meeting shows all those faces coming on, and we can share that we're concerned, we're scared, this worked, but this didn't work. And you can really bring owners together to share their concern, their worry. That makes a huge difference. And I'm sure there are other franchise leaders out there that know very well how important it is and you yourself, whatever your leadership looks like, you need to be the person whose face is included. Those little cameo pictures, and you need to be the voice there of hope and reassurance, and with solid action items, buoying your franchise system forward. But that is really very important right now, to stay in front of our owners, and it's okay to be scared. And it's also okay to think about the future and to plan for it.
You know, at one point, you know, this is about survival of the business, right? And allowing the business to pivot to new online ventures and new models. It sounds like you have a fair amount of grit, for lack of a better word. And is that term accurate? And would you advise people to look for that in other leaders?
Oh, absolutely. You know, as I look back over all the years that I've been in franchising, which now is over 25 years, there you have moments when things go boy, couldn't have been better. And then you have moments where you're knocked off your horse. And in yourself, it is a grit factor. You have to have that grit. And I see that not only, I hope I see it in myself. I see it in my franchise owners. Those, you know, that you've already got a little bit of that, I think that grit when you step into business, right? You step into business, it's not for everyone. But if you think things will be perfect all the time, that's not reality, and it's not business, right? So businesses have their ups and downs, and they have their challenges. But it's not, franchising, I think in general, is not for the faint of heart. And I think this moment in time is really a test for all of us, for whatever challenges we've faced in our careers, in leading our companies. None of us could have imagined this. This is one of that, you know, those unimaginable scenarios where we have been really asked to bear more than what a person can really bear. We are isolated in our homes. Professionally, we're isolated. Businesses are struggling. You have to be able to reach way inside, and you have to believe in yourself. But it is definitely about grit, and that's where you're going to find that inner strength, because it's not just about you, it's about all of your franchise owners that have invested in the brand and are looking to you to lead them. So it is most definitely about grit. And I think perhaps as younger people, newer people begin to think about stepping into franchising, this is a bit of a litmus test, isn't it? It's a little bit like if in the system, if I joke with my some of my owners, and I say, well, if you have any concerns in the future, I think what I'm going to say to you, no, things are really not that much of a challenge. Remember COVID. It is. I think it's something for, you know, newer people that step into franchising to think about the what ifs. You know, what would you do if your company is severely challenged? And this is about the most severely challenged, at least in my lifetime, and certainly something I couldn't have imagined. So it's a message to us now, and it's a message to those that are thinking about stepping into franchising.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of lessons to learn from this particular crisis. And I can see business school case studies changing dramatically as, now we have this as a bellwether for how to handle crisis. And we'll have success stories and failure stories that come out of this. But beyond the pandemic and what you've shown to be a testament of survival and grit and pure leadership, what advice would you give to somebody who is just starting their career first, and then somebody who's perhaps already in franchising and wants to continue to advance in leadership? What advice would you give to our viewers?
Sure. And it sounds a bit of a cliche, but I will tell you it is very, very true, at least in my experience. You need to start from a place where you really believe in yourself, and that you have the fortitude to do something new. You believe you can do it, and very, very importantly, that you surround yourself with people that believe in you and that bring a positive energy to you. And then I think Marissa, it circles back a little bit to what we were talking about in the beginning of our conversation, really seeking out those networks that can help you learn and to help bring different perspectives into your way of thinking. And that's something we want to do in our businesses ongoing, but certainly as a new person considering franchising, or people already in franchising and wanting to move forward in business, really getting involved with networks and networks that you can preserve over time. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about the IFA is a lot of my relationships are, of course, we always form new relationships too, which is wonderful. And there are some great new people stepping into franchising. But these are relationships I've cultivated over the years, and I've really been able to really rely on them. And in recent times during the pandemic, picking up the phone and making a call to any of these people in the networks that I've been involved with, and just saying, tell me what you think about Jan Moman from Regroup. I made a recent call to her recently. Jan was on our board of advisors when we first started Abracadoodle, and I could easily pick up the phone and say to Jan, what do you think about people like Mary Ann O'Connell, people like Shannon Wilburn, different concepts, completely different, but we are all facing, very common challenges. So to new people, I think, believe in yourself, surround yourself with positive people, and cultivate relationships that can sustain you over time, that you can build trust in, and that you can lean on when you need. None of us do anything alone.
We certainly don't. And, you alluded at the beginning of our conversation to moving to DC with your family. And I think a lot of people are always interested in that work-life balance. You've been an amazing professional leader in franchising, and you've raised amazing children. So what advice would you give on that front? Is there a balance that can be found somewhere in work life?
Now, I think this is a very funny question for Marissa to ask me, because Marissa knows me for a long time, and she knows I'm a work in progress.
We all are.
Absolutely. My work-life balance. And this is just obviously so very important. I truly am a work in progress on it. I've made some steps forward. But it is certainly in raising 3 children. You are a mother, you are a wife, You are the leader in your organization, and there is a burnout factor, and you have to be able to step off and recharge. And again, you come back with a clearer mind, a settled mind. So I also surround myself in terms of that network with people because I am a work in progress in this area that help me and poke me in that direction. But absolutely most important to do that. At the end of the day, we all have to be healthy in our minds and in our spirit and in our energy so that we can lead our companies and that we can be, good partners. And whether it's for a husband, wife, your children, and yourself, so that you can sustain sort of a healthy and positive outlook on life.
Yeah, I think that what I've picked up from you most of all throughout all of the years that I've known you is your willingness to give your time and nurture other people. So you've been a great mentor to many people in franchising and in business. And it sounds like you've also enjoyed being a mentee of other people. So I think that collaborative efforts really paid off for you. So we thank you so much for your time today and sharing your story. We absolutely appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck in weathering the rest of the pandemic.
Thank you so much, Marissa, and to everyone. We need to be strong, we need to be courageous, and we need to stay well. So stay safe, everyone, and thank you so much. It's really an honor, Marissa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosemarie. And that's it for today, folks. Thank you.